2022 is almost over, so what can buyers and sellers in New York City expect from the market in 2023? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Dewey Moss. I'm a top producing real estate agent in New York City. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for lots of great content and take a look at that description box for all different ways to get in touch with me, and let's get started. So what can we all expect in 2023 in the New York City real estate market? Well, that's the big question, and we all wish we had a crystal ball to see the future, but we don't. What we can do, however, is look at some historical norms, historical data, and make some educated guesses about markets that were similar in the past. There was a great article in the New York Magazine in the Curbed section just a few days ago that interviewed a lot of experts in the industry and had a lot of great things to say about where we all think that the market's going to go for 2023. And I want to highlight just a few key takeaways from that article because I think it was so good. The first thing is the market's actually fine. The market is moving. There are transactions happening. There are sales being done. Buyers are out there looking. It's slower than it was for the past couple of years because the past couple of years with a low interest rate, it was really an anomaly out there. Things were selling like gangbusters. The market was really, really hot. And now what's happened is it's slowed down to something that is much more normal for the season. So if we look back a couple of years and prior to that, the couple of years before that, to see what the seasonal norms are, we're actually quite close to that. So the market's fine. It just feels much slower because of those really great couple of years. Number two, sellers are not selling at fire sale prices. They're not lowering their prices right now. Now, we do have a standoff. We have buyers that are not buying right now because they're having to get used to that new interest rate that's going on. So they're holding off, seeing what the interest rates are doing. But we have sellers who are not bringing down their prices. Some negotiability has been affected, so some sellers really need to sell, so they're going to let that negotiability factor come into play with buyers getting a better deal. But buyers, if you're waiting for New York City to really drop in prices, it's probably not going to happen. The sellers are going to keep their inventory at a pretty decent price, and come spring, whenever there's a lot more inventory on the market, the competition's going to get more fierce and people are going to keep those prices up. So along with that, number three, buyers, we're all going to have to get used to higher interest rates. I know that's not fun to hear, but we do think, and this is good news, we do think that those interest rates are going to settle a little bit, maybe even under 6%. Now, there's another video I did that talks about the 50-year norm for interest rates, and we're still way below that 50-year norm. These are still good interest rates, and I know that's hard to hear, but as I pointed out in that other video, my first place that I bought was at a 9.25 interest rate, and that was the good one when you had good credit and you had good finances. That's just where the interest rates were. This 2% interest rate that we've been experiencing truly is an anomaly. It's probably not going to happen again. So buyers, if you really want to buy, if you're serious about buying, you're going to have to get used to that interest rate. I know it affects your affordability. I know it affects what you can look at. I know it affects where you can look at. But buyers are going to buy. They're going to come back. They're going to be used to that interest rate once it settles a little bit more, and they're going to buy, which brings us to the big picture for next year. I've already sort of hinted at it. We're probably not going to see a lot in terms of price reduction. In fact, because of that standoff, because buyers are waiting to buy and see what interest rates are doing and sellers are not lowering their price, who's going to blink first? It's probably going to be the buyers, which means more inventory is going to come on the market, which means there will be more competition and more action on the market and just a lot more activity. So what's the key takeaway right now in terms of what you should do? Well, if you're a buyer, I would suggest getting out and looking now. you might be able to snag a good deal. You might be able to find that seller that really needs to sell and is willing to negotiate and make a deal. Not a bad time to look. I always say, do you want to look when there's lots of competition and be one of 8 bids on the property, or do you want to be the only bid on the property in a slower time? So not a bad time to be looking. For sellers, inventory is tight right now. If you want to go ahead and release your apartment for sale and get it listed, you might have some of those buyers who are out there looking, to buy, who need to buy quickly. Obviously, come spring, there's going to be more inventory, and that's always a prime time for you to release your listing. But it looks like that the New York market for 2023 is going to be healthy, and it's going to come back in spring, and we're going to have something that is much more akin to the norms in real estate pre-pandemic and pre the really low interest rates. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and take a look at the description box for all different ways to get in touch with me. And let's find your dream home, or let's list your home for sale in 2023. And Happy New Year, everyone.